why do some people realize more of their potential than other people? I mean, this question's bugged me for years. Like, why is that? Like, why do some people achieve success at this really high level, and then other people who have access to the same information, the same resources, and they're just as smart, and yet they don't. Like, what's going on here? For example, Bill Gates is a pretty smart guy. I know that because it says, so on the screen now. But he's got an IQ of 160, which, by the way, is the same as Stephen Hawking, so I know he's a pretty smart guy. But I can go on Google, and I can find a long list of people with IQs just as high as Bill Gates, some way higher, actually, than Bill Gates, none of whom built anything like Microsoft, and most of whom actually lived pretty ordinary lives, considering how incredibly brilliant they are. So what's going on? Like, what's going on here? Well, I can tell you after 40 plus years, I know I don't look like I'm old enough for that to even be possible, but for 40, thank you for saying so, but for 40 plus years, I've been studying and I've been working with and coaching both athletes and entrepreneurs. And I can tell you with some degree of certainty, at least, that there is a formula that leads to success. People that are successful don't just have similar attributes or qualities. They're not all just smart. They're not all just creative. And they're not all just necessarily hardworking folks. They have experiences that are similar. There is a pattern to experiences that successful people go through. And that's good news. That's cool because it means that we can reproduce those things, right? I mean, if there's people we love and care about, including possibly ourselves, we can leverage that information to actually do something about it. That's the good news. The bad news is I'm not going to tell you what it is, at least not yet. First, I want to tell you the story about how I uncovered all this in the first place. So 30 years ago, I was a gymnastics coach. That's me. I had more hair. Okay, that's Gabby Douglas, the 2012 Olympic champion. But I was a gymnastics coach, and I was a pretty good one. At least I thought I was a pretty good one anyway. I love the sport, really still do. And I guess I won more than I lost. And then one day, I went to a gymnastics conference. I was really excited about this conference because there was a guy there that had been to Russia, and at the time, Russia was the top country in the world for gymnastics, right? So I was really excited. And he had been there, and he had filmed a coach teaching this girl how to do a Kachev. That is what Gabby is doing up on the screen there. She's doing a Kachev. And a Kachev is a really cool move. I love that you swing, come out of a giant swing, if you know what that is. You swing up in the air, you let go, you fly up in the air, you swing backwards over the bar, you catch the bar on your way down, you swing through. So it's a big, fun, dynamic, cool move. So I was really stoked to go there and watch this film. So you need to know at the time in Canada, the way that we would learn skills, at least certainly among my peer group, was to practice it over and over and over again until you get it right. Right? So a skill like a catch-up that's a pretty high-level move would take us years to learn how to do. So I sat there in this audience, and you can imagine my surprise when I'm watching this film, and this girl appears to learn the skill in about 10 minutes. I mean, I'm not saying it was perfect or anything, but she kind of went from not knowing how to do a catch-up to kind of knowing how to do a catch-up in about 10 minutes. This blew me away. You got to understand, this blew me away. In fact, it blew me away so much that I wondered if what I was seeing was 100% legit. Like, is it actually proper? And the funny thing is, the guy with the camera, I guess he felt the same way because he asked the question to this coach. He goes, how is it possible for this girl to learn a catch-up in about 10 minutes? Now, have you ever had something happen in your life that hit you, smacked between the eyes, and really shook your belief system? Probably you have. It's certainly, for me, this was that moment. Because this coach looked back at this guy. He looked back at the camera. And really, from my perspective, I'm sitting there, and I feel like he's looking back right at me. I feel like he's looking straight at my soul, I think. Because he looked at me, and he said, 10 minutes to learn the Kachev. He said 10 years to prepare to learn the Kachev. And I thought, whoa, wait a minute, 10 years to prepare to learn something that you then learn in 10 minutes. I sort of understood what he was saying, not 100%, but I knew one thing for sure at that moment. I wasn't actually that good a gymnastics coach. My ego got crushed that day for sure. I realized that something fundamentally that I've been doing all this time was wrong. It was not right. And what I did do was vow to figure it out. I was going to figure out what the heck was going on. So I started studying. I started researching. I traveled across the U.S. I visited lots of the different gymnastics clubs in the U.S. And slowly but surely, the way I thought about gymnastics started to change. I started shifting my thinking a little bit. And I realized that gymnastics is not a whole bunch of these moves, a whole bunch of these skills that you do. Gymnastics is like a system with a bunch of subsystems that all come together. And the best way I can describe it really is it's like Lego. Because if you know how to build Lego, got a bunch of, a big pile of Lego, you can build a little house, right? Or you can take it apart and you can use the same pieces of Lego and you can rebuild a car or whatever you want out of Lego. If you've got good pieces of Lego and you know how to build. And gymnastics was just like that. It's a bunch of pieces that you can assemble together to make all those amazing things that you see every 4 years on TV at the Olympics. And so this totally changed my perspective, and I went back to the drawing board, spent the whole summer revamping our program, rebuilt it from scratch. And I broke gymnastics down all into these little subcomponents. We call them specific body actions in sports science, but broke it down to all these little subcomponents, these little pieces of Lego. And then on top of each one of these pieces of Lego, I built a whole program, a 20 levels program for each one of these. So it was like a big giant grid. And then I tested my athletes against this grid, and now I could see where they were strong and where they were weak. But more importantly, they could now see where they were strong, and they could now see where they were weak, and they knew what to do about it. I had to move from level 2 to level 3, or level 3 to level 4. They understood what they had to do. I started to actually empower them in a way that they'd never been empowered before from coaching, because it changed, in fact, the whole way that I coached. Because before I would gather my gymnasts together, and I would tell them what to do, and then I would send them off to do it. And then I would follow them around and fix, or whatever. And then I'd pull them together, and I'd tell them what to do, send them off to do that, and then fix. And that's how I coached. But now it was totally different. Now I stood back on the sidelines. Now I was watching. I was more like conducting a symphony. That's me up there. Now you can see I actually did have hair. See, I really did have hair once. But I was on the sidelines. I was conducting like an orchestra. And the movement, everybody knew what to do and how to do it. And believe it or not, every single person in this audience, not forever, but for a day, could have replaced me as a coach. If I give you a 20-minute lesson in how to coach gymnastics and you stood there and said, point your toes, straighten your legs, you could have got through. They wouldn't have known any different. Maybe they would have figured it out eventually. But so because the whole thing was working, and guess what? They got better. Like they got better and better and better and better until one day they didn't get better. They kind of like stuck, and I was like, I thought I had it figured out. I was like, oh, right. So I thought about it, and I thought, what is going on? Like, why are we plateauing? Like, why are we not still progressing? I'm pushing them, and I know they love the sport. I know they're passionate. I knew why they wanted to be there. They had all that going for them. They wanted to work hard. They wanted to be there, but it was just hard. And that was what finally figured it out. It's just hard. Gymnastics is hard. Chin-ups are hard. And to stay motivated, to work at that level all the time consistently is hard, right? So motivation needs fuel, I realized. You can't just always operate at 100 miles an hour. You need fuel to support yourself to be at that level. So, got out a calendar and started plugging in all these events to start to change the atmosphere to support the high level of work we were trying to achieve. So, we went swimming. We went to the beach. We went rock climbing together. We had parties. We created a fun, quirky kind of culture in the gym, and we had a good time. But the thing that really worked, the thing that really made the difference was when we took that culture and we pulled it together and put it right inside the training program itself. So, for example, when they moved up one of these levels that I'm talking about, They went over and we had a cowbell. It's kind of funny what we did. And they'd ring the cowbell, ding-a-ling-a-ling, and then I would hoist them up on my shoulders, and I would run them around the gym, and everybody would cheer, and then they would go back to where they were. Everybody would gather around and watch them do their new thing, their new skill, and high fives all around, and then back to work. So we brought the culture right into the process of excellence. We tied the culture to excellence. We built what I call a culture of excellence. And then they started getting better, and better, and better, and better, and better, and then something amazing happened. 3 things, actually. First, skills started coming faster than I'd ever seen before. We took a year off from training. Competing. Sorry, we took a year off from competing. Lots of training. And then we went back and we started pulling these things together, like these pieces of Lego assembled. And man, for the first time, I started to see how you can learn to Tkachev in 10 minutes. It was incredible. Kind of a bonus, the injury rate almost entirely disappeared because they were fit, they were strong, they were healthy. They could handle a little fall or a little mistake. Their bodies were conditioned properly because we had done it right. And the part that I love the most, because I'm kind of a competitive guy, in case you're wondering, is, well, we won. Lots of ribbons, lots of medals. Actually, they crushed. It was pretty cool. And what I didn't exactly know at the time was that I had discovered the formula for success. I discovered a formula for success. 10 years later, which is 20 years back now, when I started my consulting firm, I kind of codified it. And I call it the value pyramid. And here's how it worked for gymnastics. So there's 4 levels. And as you climb the value pyramid, you start to realize more and more and more of your potential. See, potential is not just this thing that you need to be afraid of or need to be frustrated by. There is a process that you can go through to get there if you understand and you're willing to walk down the path. So level 1, I was a coach. I loved the sport, attracted my athletes in, taught the athletes. Level 2, some of those athletes said, hey, I like gymnastics. I'm going to do gymnastics. So they started participating. And then that's right where I was before I went to the conference. I was telling them what to do, but they liked the sport. The next level, we developed a training program. But a training program in particular that they could be part of. Not just a training program where I told them what to do, but a training program that they had some control over, that they were part of. And then finally, we built a culture that drove excellence, and that created a continuous improvement loop, right? Driving of excellence onto a system created a continuous improvement loop where you went better and better and better and better. But this works for everything, everything. Let's say you're a teacher. Let's say you love science and you're a science teacher and you teach some students about science, and some of them say, hey, I like science. So you teach them some study habits so they can understand how to study and how to continuously make themselves better. And then you create maybe a study group. And so they have motivation to try to keep working with each other, and they get better, and eventually some of them become scientists. Even Bill Gates had his computer lab, right, with others that helped him to do the same thing. And now I work with business owners. And the concept is exactly the same as the gymnast. You start a business. You're excited about your business. Eventually, you hire some people, and hopefully they get motivated to help you with your business. But you're telling them what to do. And that's where most businesses stay, by the way. They're right at that spot where they're working with people. They tell people what to do, or maybe those people have their own ideas, but they're doing their own thing then. It's not a cohesive group focused in some direction. But once you start putting systems in place, systems that help you to hire the right people, systems that help you to train the right people, systems that give you quality assurance and quality control, systems in structure and goals and job descriptions and all that stuff that we often think of as boring, but it actually brings life to the business. It makes the business alive, right? Just like a gymnast comes alive, a business itself comes alive, just like you build a gymnast. And eventually, you build a culture of excellence on top of that, and you create that continuous improvement loop that I was talking about. This works for every single situation. Just don't take my word for it. Think of some of the biggest companies in the world. Just for fun, let's say Toyota, let's say Apple, let's say Walmart. Toyota is the largest manufacturing company in the world. Walmart became the largest retail company in the world. Apple became the most valuable company in the world. All of these companies, and more, you could name 100. I guarantee any business that you can think of that you really admire has what these three businesses has, which is almost a fanatical culture. A culture of excellence that drives on top of the systems, that drives the continuous improvement loop that grows that company. It's pretty cool stuff. And what I love is it can put you in control of your destiny. Thomas Edison said, opportunity is missed by most people because it's dressed in overalls and it looks like hard work. But what kind of hard work? Well, climb your own value pyramid and find out. Thank you very much.